up, everybody? How's it going? And welcome back to the channel. I want to thank you guys for tuning into the show. You're now tuned into Too Real for Mainstream, and I'm your host. And today I want to rap with you guys just for a little bit. Boy, I tell you, whoa, what a way for the Eastern Conference Finals to close out. Boy, that was definitely a stunner. But I'm not surprised by that, as you guys may have. If you guys had already subscribed to the channel, you already know that you. I told you guys, and before the playoffs started. I had Miami the favorites to make it to the finals and actually to win the NBA finals this year. And boy, it did not surprise. Boy, I know them Boston Celtics fans and them people in Boston. Boy, they are so upset and hot. Boy, they down there to tear down that city the way them Boston Celtics choke. But it goes just to what I've been saying for. I mean, pretty much, I've been saying this since the playoffs started. Like a lot of my live streams and uploads, that the Boston Celtics, saying their problem, like a lot of teams, every team has a certain weakness or whatever, the pros and the cons. And the con for Boston is, like I told you, they have an issue with they don't know how to maintain momentum. They have a hard, very huge issue, big problem with maintaining momentum. And I just think that it's majorly, mainly, there's a lot of things what's wrong with this team. I do think that some the roster there needs to be some adjustments to this roster. There's a few players may need to be moved out to bring in new, but I just don't think this team is working together. But now, what the main part of this upload is, we're gonna get to that and we're gonna get back to Boston. But let me go ahead and get to you guys about the main thing I wanted to inform you guys about. If you guys don't know, which I'm pretty sure you guys should know by now, but I called it out when Philadelphia lost to Boston in the semifinals, I believe. Uh, Doc Rivers was definitely, I mean, I think everybody knew that was going to happen. Doc Rivers was fired from the Philadelphia 76ers as the head coach. And I mean, I knew that was coming. I mean, they placed all the blame on Doc Rivers, just like in LA and Clippers. They did the same thing. And it's sad because Doc Rivers is not the problem. This is not Doc. This is not on Doc Rivers. The problem uh, that what a lot of people are not getting that ever since Doc Rivers won that championship with Boston, the teams that he has coached after that, he's been surrounded by players that don't have that same type of DNA or that same type of structure that got that it factor. Like people like, for instance, like in Boston, he had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen. Those were players like such as like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. A lot of players from like that have that clutch, like they willing to play in. Their egos are not too big, the fame and everything. They're willing to listen and be taught certain things. This is the problem with Doc Rivers had with the teams that he's coached after the Boston winning the championship with the Boston Celtics. He got these prima donna athletes on the Clippers and such as on the Philadelphia 76ers as well, where they just don't like to listen. They just want to go out there and do their own thing, and that's been a problem. The problem with the Clippers and with Philadelphia was not Doc Rivers. It was the pieces and puzzles that he had surrounding him. That's what the problem is. Now, that's why I say I do think that Doc Rivers is one of the, if not the top ranked coaches in the NBA, which he does not get enough credit for what he have done. I think the problem is if you put Doc Rivers with the right team, I guarantee you that the right team with the right caliber players, players that don't have big egos, and players that like to learn and listen, you'll see the difference. Uh, I do have two things I'm going to be updating. Now there are stipulations, there's all rumors, and already we've known that I don't think Doc Rivers will definitely be out of work for too long because there's already rumors, and I think it's a fact that already two teams is definitely looking to interested into bringing in Doc Rivers. One is on the Eastern one conference, and one is on the Western Conference. So if you guys don't know, the Milwaukee Bucks currently has a vacancy for the head coach. They don't have a head coach right now currently, and as well as the Phoenix Suns. Now, I do think that those would be two good destinations for Doc Rivers. What a coincidence! Because if you guys remember from one of my uploads or streams on live I did maybe about a couple of weeks ago, I said that the teams that I think were best fit were Doc Rivers would be best fit at, and one of them, and these two teams were two of the teams that I spoke of. I also mentioned the Miami Heat, and also even mentioned Memphis, Memphis Grizzlies. I think Doc Rivers will be good for Memphis Grizzlies to teach them boys some discipline, because they got all them young studs, but they just don't have no discipline. So that's the problem with Memphis Grizzlies. But Out of the four teams that I named, what a coincidence that two of those teams that I named about a couple of weeks ago that I think would perfectly fit for Doc Rivers, the head coach at two of those teams contact him, the Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee Bucks. Now, it's reports definitely that there's already an interview set up for Doc Rivers to go meet up with the Phoenix Suns. I do think that these would be two good, perfect destinations for Doc Rivers. If it's not Miami or Memphis, I don't see nothing wrong with him being in Phoenix. I think Phoenix would actually that would do them some good. Now I don't know about it. Depends if Chris Paul's still going to be there. I don't know because Doc Rivers, I believe, had to deal with Chris Paul when he was in Clippers in LA. So if Chris Paul is still going to be there, I don't know. I think that it may be Doc Rivers' best bet to go maybe to Milwaukee. Now, out of these two, I say both teams. I mean, either way it go, I mean, I could see no wrong with Doc Rivers going to either team. But I do think that I think maybe Milwaukee would be the best bet, like as far as the championship. But then again, Phoenix would be a good destination for him too to go back to the Western Conference. It all depends on where he want to be in the Western or the Eastern Conference. Uh, but out of these two teams, if I had to pick, I probably, as far as winning the championship, I would say Phoenix. But the issue I have with Doc Rivers going to Phoenix is going and head coaching for Chris Paul again. I just don't think that work. I do think that the Phoenix Suns needs to consider getting rid of making some moves and getting rid of Chris Paul and bringing in someone else. I'm just keeping it real. If not, I think that maybe the best bet would be Milwaukee for Doc Rivers. I just don't think he'll do well with working with someone like Chris Paul. But and I was going to say that Boston. I think Boston should really consider, and they're probably interested in bringing Doc Rivers back. But honestly, I don't even know if Doc Rivers should go back to Boston, especially what happened after he left Boston, though. So that's all I have for you guys. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. So until next time, peace.